list goes on and on. Ahead tonight, see if you recognize any of the nearly 20 murder suspects police are hunting.
Also ahead, the man accused in the beating death of a toddler appears in court.
And who will it be? Meet the contestants of Miss Bahamas 2013. The National Report starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This segment of the news is brought to you by BTC, powered by Lime.
Police today have issued an all-points bulletin, 15 pages long. Good evening, everyone. I'm Kendino Knowles.
And I'm Keishla Adderley. Well, head of the Central Detective Unit, Superintendent Paul Roll, formed an alliance with the grieving relatives of murder victims today and reissued the call for public assistance in closing a series of unsolved cases. Some of the suspects have been on the run since 2008, but as Andrew Knowles tells us, police are hopeful that tonight they jog someone's memory or prompt a hesitant witness to come forward.
This has been a difficult and trying time for us. Abby is my last child. He was only 23 at the time, and he has one child.
For Alvin Sargent, the last 10 months have been rough after his son, Abiami Sargent, was murdered last year, October. Almost a year since Abiami was killed, police are still on the hunt for 29-year-old Bruce Colebrook of Dumping Ground Corner in connection with his murder. Giovanni Bain's brother, Gregory Bain, was killed on August 26, 2012 in Abaco, and police want to question Louis Cadet in connection with Bain's murder.
I'm appealing to the public on behalf of my family. If you know where the suspect is, any information, please bring forward to bring some closure to this case.
And with your help, authorities are hoping to locate 13 other suspects who are also wanted for murder. One of these cases goes back to 2008, but police say that's not stopping them from carrying out their investigations.
We don't want people to believe that when the year changes that we close. And so we have a number of these suspects that we know, and these murders that are unsolved, so we want to let people know we're continuing to investigate these murders, although they're outstanding. Some of the cases are cold. We have been continuing it until we develop the suspects in these matters.
Now, police insist that there must be people, whether family or friends, who know exactly where these suspects are. And Central Detective Unit Chief Superintendent Paul Roll is once again issuing a stern warning to those who may be assisting these wanted men.
I'm certain that these people have to eat, they have to sleep, and persons know where they are. And if we find persons are harboring these, now that I have made this appeal, and if we find that these persons, you're harboring them, you will be dealt with, because we're not going to ease up until we find them. And so if we come to your house and we find them in the house, then you could expect to be taken into custody and charged for harboring a wanted fugitive.
Now, police are assuring the public, and more importantly, the grieving family members, that they'll continue to pursue these murder suspects until they're brought to justice. Andrew Knowles, ZNS Network News.
The man accused of brutally beating a 2-year-old boy to death, reportedly with a frying pan, appeared in court today. 22-year-old Trevor Carey appeared before a magistrate facing a murder charge in connection with the death of Tion Morley, his girlfriend's son. Carey was not required to enter a plea. A voluntary bill of indictment will be filed, which will fast-track the case to the Supreme Court for trial. Now, Carey's been remanded to prison and is due back in court on November 18th.
An American visitor will have an extended stay in the Bahamas as he fights a rape charge.
Now, the New Yorker is charged with raping a female visitor 3 days ago over on Paradise Island. Our Fern Carey was in court.
26-year-old Yonkers, New York resident Ryan Doherty will have to spend more time in Nassau than he planned after the court arraigned the American citizen on a rape charge and then remanded him to prison. The New Yorker is accused of having sexual intercourse with a 20-year-old female visitor without her consent. The incident allegedly occurred in a pool on Paradise Island 3 days ago. The American was not required to enter a plea. The case will be fast-tracked to Supreme Court by voluntary bill of indictment. Following the arraignment, the defendant's attorney tried to convince the court to release him on up to $10,000 cash bail. She indicated that he is a network engineer who has no criminal history. However, police prosecutor Inspector Clifford Daxon objected to bail on the grounds that the defendant is an American citizen and has no ties to the Bahamas. Inspector Daxon also explained that the magistrate no longer has the discretion to grant bail on a rape charge due to the 2011 amendments to the Bail Act. As a result, Acting Chief Magistrate Joyanne Ferguson Pratt adjourned the matter to 2:30 p.m. to clarify the issue. When court resumed, she told the defendant that after extensive examination of the Bail Act and the 2011 amendments, she was unable to grant him bail. However, she indicated that if she had the discretion, she would have taken another course. Doherty was then remanded to prison and the case adjourned to November 8. However, he can apply to the Supreme Court to be released on bail. Fern Carey, ZNS Network News.
Family members of Rufus Storr are tonight denying reports on social media that the missing jet ski operator's body was found. His aunt, Sandra Ferguson Roll, said there have not been any new developments in the case. She's, however, asking anyone who may have information which may assist with finding him to come forward. The missing 49-year-old owner and operator of Cool Runnings Water Sports was last seen operating a jet ski in waters just off Cabbage Beach on Sunday afternoon.
Today, there are no active tropical cyclones in the Atlantic Ocean, but with about 3 months left in the Atlantic hurricane season, National Emergency Management Agency officials are ensuring that the necessary personnel are trained to operate the hundreds of shelters throughout the country. Some 28 of them from the Department of Social Services, Sandilands, and the Department of Public Health are attending a 2-day certification in shelter management.
The Social Services is really the lead government agency for it, and we support by conducting the certification and training. It's going to be helpful, you know, within New Providence. We have some 22 shelters, and we want to have at least a social worker in defense force or 2 social workers in each. Mind you, the Family Islands is on the same level. They have certified managers also, but they just do not have the presence of the defense force. So it's an official certification through USAID OFTA, and they're going to be recertified each 3 years.
Bahamian resident Louis Bacon's Moore Capital Management has agreed to pay $48.4 million to settle a class action lawsuit asserting that the hedge fund manipulated platinum and palladium prices. That, according to the plaintiff's lead attorney Christopher Lovell. Lovell told Reuters in an email the settlement was reached before Judge William Pauley III of the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of New York. In April 2010, the U.S. Commodity Futures Trading Commission fined Moore Capital $25 million for attempting to manipulate NYMEX platinum and palladium futures prices from at least November 2007 through to May of 2008. The U.S. regulator alleged the fund was entering trades in the last 10 seconds of trading in a manner designed to exert upward pressure on the settlement prices in a practice known as banging the close.
Foreign Affairs and Immigration Minister Fred Mitchell says the Christie administration is scouting several Middle Eastern countries to acquire development financing.
Now, the Republic of China has already committed to provide billions of dollars in financing, not just to the Bahamas, though, but other Caribbean states as well. Minister
Mitchell announced earlier this week that representatives from Saudi Arabia will be in town next week. An official from the Republic of Qatar will also visit the Bahamas in October, and the government will conduct a trade mission to Dubai in October.
The Middle East has large sovereign wealth funds that are looking for opportunities to invest. They also have high net worth individuals in Europe and in the Middle East, in China and in Latin America, who want to find safe harbor to invest their money. So our role in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is to conclude the formal relations with countries so as to allow the Trade Ministry to come in behind us and promote our country as a safe, well-regulated jurisdiction where money can be kept, be safe, grow, and not be involved in anything criminal or unsavory.
Well, you may have to wait a little longer for that letter or package due to a series of challenges at the post office. Staff at the General Post Office will have to relocate and are now on reduced hours. Minister of Transport Glenys Hannah Martin explains how her ministry is handling the postal concern.
We have made a determination as a matter of policy that we are moving people out of that post office. We've had, the Ministry of Works went there yesterday. At this moment, the postal workers of the General Post Office are working reduced hours, half day. And we have all weekend, we've been looking at alternate locations for the short to medium term establishment of General Post Office services, which includes the entire spectrum of services. Savings bank, parcel post, and also the mail sorting aspect of it. And so we are hopeful that over the next few days a building will be identified and that people will be redeployed from the General Post Office to new accommodations.
Now, Hannah Martin says malfunctioning air conditioning systems at the Elizabeth Estates, South Beach and Grantstown outlets will also result in those employees working reduced hours.
I've been in very fervent dialogue with the Ministry of Works to assist us to resolve that, and we are hopeful that those air conditioning systems will be repaired in the shortest period of time. But those post offices are also on reduced hours because of that. We cannot require people to stay in conditions of that nature, and so they're working in reduced hours.
The Democratic National Alliance made history as a third party in the last general election, capturing the support of more than 13,000 Bahamians, representing about 9% of the vote. But since the last election, some say it appears the DNA is suffering the same fate as other third parties, which no longer exist. Today, DNA leader Branville McCartney shot down the idea on ZNS talk show Immediate Response, saying the party is still intact. In fact, Mr. McCartney said a lot of the things his party predicted during the election campaign have now become reality.
Just sit back, look at where our country is, look where we've come from, look where we ought to be, consider where we ought to be. Look at what was said during the campaign. And I would hope that the Bahamian people would realize that what we said in the DNA, go back. Many of what we said is now coming to fruition. Many of them. Many things. We're not moving. We're doing the same things over and over again. There were promises upon promises made that cannot be fulfilled. There's been terrible blunders.
Right. Well, don't forget about the Crime Farm, which will be carried live on ZNS TV and radio and will also be the first project under the ZNS Interactive banner. Viewers who log on to www.znSbahamas.com will be able to watch the Crime Forum via live streaming and participate by sharing their views and suggestions in our built-in chat room, as well as through social media sites, Facebook and Twitter.
In our first look at weather, the mid-level trough over the northwest Bahamas is moving westward and out of the area, while a tropical wave to the south will move into the area later on tonight. But outside of our studios, we have mostly cloudy skies, temperature 84 degrees, relative humidity 79%. Your winds out of the east at 10 knots, barometric pressure 1,015.7 millibars. It's 29.99 inches, and it is falling. But stay tuned, temperatures around the family balance, travel and boating forecast is still to come.
Well, still ahead, the journey to Miss Bahamas begins.
And in sports, a challenge is issued in the boxing world. You're watching The Bahamas Tonight.
This portion of the news is brought to you by Shell Helix Ultra. Performance you can see.